Some of the mods that we've done to this car, all the costs and things involved with doing it, and it's really cheap to do. There's no way I could top that. That could run you so much money, so I'm gonna have to tell you at least how much the vinyl costs, what's coming in 2022. What's going on, guys? Now, first of all, I'd just like to say a belated Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you all had a great day. You've been enjoying some time with family, enjoying a little bit of time off work, whatever it is you've been doing. I hope you've had an awesome time this Christmas. I was thinking about putting this video out on Christmas Day, but I thought you've all probably got a lot better things to be doing on Christmas Day than watching me. Plus, there was a Mighty Car mod special on Christmas Day, and there's no way I could top that. If you've been following me on Instagram, then you'll have seen that I've been posting daily pictures in December of some of the mods that we've done to this car throughout the year, just to sort of recap what we've been doing. Something I like to call the mod vent calendar. But less than half of you that subscribe to the YouTube channel follow me on Instagram, so I just thought I'd make a little video to recap some of the mods that we've done to this car. I'll also include the costs of those mods as well, because I made a video on all the repair costs for this car and what it took to basically get it roadworthy, because it definitely wasn't when it turned up. And a lot of you in that video said you'd also like to see a breakdown of the mods on this car in terms of what they cost. So that's what I'm going to show you today. And then if you stick around for the end of this video, I'm also going to show you what's coming in 2022. Now, first on the list is the Ram Air filter. This is the first mod I did to the car. It's a really quick, cheap and simple mod that you can do, and it's so effective. I mean, I don't think it's going to give you that much more power, if any, but it definitely makes a massive difference to the induction sound. Like, these filters are awesome. I guess you're going to get that with any pod filter on an engine like this, but still, that sounds awesome, and that was £25 off Facebook sales. Oh, and just quickly, this is probably the last time you're ever going to see it on this car. The next mod we did was the lowering springs, and these were just £40 off Facebook sales. Yes, they were cheap and cheerful, but they've done a pretty good job. I've not had any issues with them. The ride height's pretty much perfect for what I wanted, and although they're not the most comfortable things in the world, they're definitely not the worst either. Now, I promise I won't say this about every mod we cover in this video, but suspension's another thing that's probably going to be getting changed in 2022. Next up is the Mountune short shifter, which I got brand new from Mountune for £145. It's probably a little bit steep for what it actually does. It definitely does make a difference. The throw is a lot shorter, and it is a lot lighter as well. Is it worth £145? Probably not, but I'm glad I've got one anyway. Back under the bonnet, we've got the NB styling bonnet strut kit. Now, I actually won these in a competition. My ticket for the draw only cost me about £3, but I think to buy these brand new from NB styling, I think they're £45 to £55, something like that, and they're awesome. Like, no bonnet prop, no having to lift the bonnet if you're that lazy. They're epic. I love them. Now, while we're under the bonnet, the next mod that I did was to relocate the power steering fluid reservoir over here by the battery. It normally sits on top of the power steering pump over here. There's relocation kits that you can buy off the internet, and they range from sort of £100 to £200, I think, roughly for the kit. But I did it DIY. I bought the bottle separately. I got some hoses to run. I got the little adapter for the pump and all that sort of stuff. And all in, I managed to do that for £65, which is a hell of a saving over the off-the-shelf kit. Now, some of my favourite bits about the front of this car are the custom painted headlights and the gloss black grills and plastics. These were all done DIY. I've got separate videos on doing both the headlights and all the plastics, but they make such a difference to the front of this car. Like, the contrast, especially since I've wrapped the car as well, which we'll get onto, like, the contrast against that just looks so good. I wasn't totally happy with the headlights and all the plastics when I did them, just because the car was black originally. If you remember, it's the original Panther black under here, but since we wrapped it, yeah, these look awesome, and it's really cheap to do. Like, yes, it takes quite a lot of effort. You have to split the headlights, sand back everything inside and paint them. Again, sanding back all the plastics and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, but it's actually really cheap to do. I think all in for both of those, I probably only spent about £20 in paint and abrasives to do that. So that is awesome. It's so effective for the front of these cars, and yet it's so easy and cheap to do. I also painted the rear reflectors and the diffuser, and then I added these fins to the diffuser, which cost me £38, but it's definitely a lot cheaper than the likes of the TRC or Maxton diffusers that you can buy for these. Yes, maybe it probably doesn't quite look as nice as especially the Maxton one, but nevertheless, I think for the price difference, these are really effective, and it definitely gives the rear end of this car that much more aggressive look. Back around to the front of the car, and this is something that I wanted for the car straight away as soon as I got it, and that is the TRC front splitter. Now, the reason I didn't get one straight away is because I didn't have the gloss black grills, plastics, headlights, all that sort of stuff. I just didn't think it would look quite right with the gloss black splitter and then having all the grey, horrible faded plastic. So as soon as I got them painted up, I ordered the splitter, and that went straight on, and that is still my favourite styling mod on this car, I think, so far. Like, it looks awesome. they just transform the front of these cars. I can't imagine if I ever had to get another one of these for any reason, I would have it without that splitter. I would just have to get another one. Now that front splitter cost me just £80, but I went on TRC earlier today and they're actually £120 now. So that was a really good price for that at the time. So unfortunately, you probably won't be able to get one brand new for the same price, but nevertheless, I paid £80 for it. Next is something you're not actually going to be able to see, and that is the Powerflex rear axle bushes. Now I did cover this in my costs for repairing this car video because the OEM bushes were shot at and they needed to be replaced. I tried to replace some OEM bushes, I couldn't do it, the bushes kept cracking, I just couldn't get them to go in at all. So Ted, that Frozen Fairs, recommended Powerflex bushes, which I went for. Those were £60 brand new, and they've made such a difference to the way this car feels on the back end, like on the OEM bushes, because mine were worn. Every time I went around a corner and went over a bump, like the back end would just step out like crazy. It was horrible. Those Powerflex bushes have sorted that out. It feels so much firmer at the back now, and I definitely recommend them to anyone who's looking to do their rear axle bushes. I definitely recommend upgrading to the Powerflex ones. There are other ones available, which I couldn't comment on the quality, but Powerflex, definitely a winner. In fact, I've got polybush upgrades coming for the front of this car very soon, and those are not going to be Powerflex bushes, so hopefully that'll give you some idea of the other options that are out there in terms of quality and the price as well. Now, the next thing is something that I'm surprised people haven't picked up on, and that is the yellow calipers at the back. But I don't have any colour on the front. Now, there's a good reason for that. Well, basically, I just never got round to it, but I'm not actually going to count that in this video, I don't think. The paint probably cost me about a tenner, but that's going to be getting changed anyway because the paint was terrible, didn't really work, and I've replaced the calipers since as well. But I have got a full brake overhaul coming for this car in the new year, which is another reason why I haven't done the front yet, but that is something that's going to be coming up. One thing I do have, though, on the back, when I did do those, and something I'm going to be keeping, you can just see a bit more yellow in the back there, those are some braided brake lines. So I've got braided lines on the back. Again, nothing on the front. That is something that will be coming. Those braided lines for the rear cost me £35, and I mean, for the paint, for doing the backs, probably, I don't know, like a tenner for the paint or whatever it was. So yeah, fair enough, we'll include that £10 for the paint. The next thing is the wind deflectors that I got from Climair. Now, I know most people probably have like Hecos or something like that because they're a lot more common and probably a little bit better price than these, but these, honestly, the quality is so much better. They're so much easier to fit. They don't rattle around like the Heco ones. Like, that is solid in there. There's no stupid clips or anything like that in there. They just slot straight in, and once they're in, they don't budge. Yes, they cost a tiny little bit more. I think Hecos are probably like £35, £40, I think, off the top of my head. These Climair ones cost me about £50, so there is a little bit of price difference, but honestly, guys, the quality is insane. The difference between the two, like, I can't get over how good these are, and I'll definitely be buying these again for any other car I have that they make them for in the future. Now, something that I think makes a big difference to the back of this car is the rear wiper delete kit from KillAllWipers.com. Don't worry, that thing you can see in the reflection isn't a rear wiper, that's actually a telegraph pole behind me. But yeah, that kit just makes such a difference to the back of this car. It looks so clean, and for just £12 for the Killer Wipers kit, you can't go wrong. Also, just quickly, a lot of people would be worried about you maybe not being able to clear water and other stuff off your rear windscreen, but honestly, on this car in particular, I haven't had a problem with it. I've had other cars where stuff always sits on the back window, but the rear wiper on this didn't actually work. The motor was seized or burnt out or something like that, and it just didn't work. And I realized that I didn't actually miss it when it stopped working, so that's why I went for the rear wiper delete. And honestly, I've just not missed the wiper at all. I normally put a coat of Rain-X or something like that on here, but I don't do it very often. Like, I think I've only ever done it twice since I took the rear wiper off and fitted this bung in there. So definitely not something you need on a Mark 6 Fiesta. I don't think. It's never been a problem for me anyway. Something that always excites me every time I get in this car is the black headliner, black pillars, all the black little touches up here, and also these visors, which are actually out of a Mark 7 ST150. Now, me and my girlfriend re-trimmed the headliner, the pillars, and all that stuff with some fabric I got online. I painted all the little plastic bits like this, and like I say, these were off a Mark 7. Now, all in the fabric, the adhesive to attach it, and the paint for doing all these little plastic bits, I think came to around £50. Unfortunately, these visors were quite expensive. They were £45 for the pair. But overall, this mod is something I'm absolutely in love with. Like, it came out so well, and it just makes such a difference. Like, I really wish you could have got these Mark 6s with a black headliner. I'm sorry it doesn't come across very well on camera. Like, it is really hard to see, but that is something that when I get in this car in person, I always think it just makes it that little bit different from a lot of these cars that you see. Yes, other people have done it, but a lot of people just spray the headliner. You can get like a fabric dye kind of aerosol to do the headliner. People maybe paint the trims, like the plastic pillars and stuff like that. But I decided to just retrim the whole lot in fabric, and it looks so good. But just one thing I want to touch on really quickly, because a lot of people actually message me about this and ask how it's holding up. And there are a few little bits where it's not quite holding up okay. It's not so much the roof line sagging, like the headliner is fine, but some of the pillars, because of some of those tight bends, like it is peeling off slightly. And I think that is to do with the fact that the fabric I bought is foam backed as it comes. But I found out after I did it, you can actually just buy the fabric separately. So what I would probably do is just use the fabric and not the foam, because I think the foam doesn't let it like go into all the little creases and curves and things like that. So that is definitely some advice if you wanted to do that yourself as well. Okay, so earlier I showed you the TRC front splitter, but I've also got the side skirt extensions from TRC and the rear spats as well, and those with the splitter complete what TRC used to sell as the low line kit. I'm not sure if they still do that, because when I asked about it, they said that they don't sell the low line kit anymore. But recently, when I went on their website again, I saw that it was for sale again. So not sure if that's available now or not, whether you can still buy the whole low line kit as one. But either way, I bought these two together, and they came in at £110 for both the side skirt extensions and the rear spats. Next up are the rear axle spacers from Anembo Engineering. Now these ones that I've got are 20mm spacers, because I asked online what size people recommended, and everyone said to go for 20mm spacers. They said that 25 or 30mm would just be too much and they'd stick out too far. Now, as I understand it, it is illegal to have the wheel stick out further than the arch. But as you can see with 20mm spacers, we've still got quite a lot of room to play with. But bear in mind that that is with the standard wheels. If you've got aftermarket wheels on your car, then the offset might be different and you might need different spacers if you need spacers at all. But nevertheless, I've got 20mm on here. My friend Ash, you've seen on the channel plenty of times now, has 28mm spacers from Anembo on his car, and they sit pretty much perfectly. You could get away with 30mm, I think, looking at it on his, but you might have issues with rubbing. Now, both our cars are lowered the same amount, and I've asked Ash about it, and he's had no issues with rubbing at all on the tyres, in the arches, or anything like that. So I do think you will be fine with something like a 28mm spacer. I can't say for definite on a 30mm. I think 30mm will fit fine. It won't stick out past the arches or anything like that, and it will look awesome, but whether or not it will rub, I really don't know. I guess if you've got adjustable coilovers rather than lowering springs, you'll probably be fine to go for something like a 30mm, because you can just adjust your ride height if you do get any rubbing. But 30mm spacers on standard wheels definitely aren't going to stick out past the arches. Oh yeah, the axle spacers were £50. Now the next thing, and possibly the biggest and best thing that I've done to this car, is the thing that you notice straight away, the one thing that just makes it stand out from all the other Mark 6 Fiestas that you see out there, and that is the colour. Now, obviously this is not a standard colour, and this is not a paint. This is a full vinyl wrap that me and my friends did in preparation for Ford Fair 2021. I get stopped by all sorts of people when I go to the supermarket, when I was getting petrol the other day, even in the street when I'm just going out into town and things like that. Like, people will come up to me and just say, wow, that colour's awesome, like, what is it, where did you get it? You know, even people that you wouldn't expect to come up and ask, like I get little old ladies come up to me and say, oh, that's a really nice colour, what is it? And stuff like that. And honestly, it's so nice to have people come up and say that, and especially people that aren't necessarily interested in cars as well, that they can actually appreciate this. And then when I tell people that I did it myself with some friends, then they're even more blown away by it. I love how it's a talking point for a lot of people, and I just love that people stop me and ask me questions about it. For those of you that haven't seen the videos that I've made on the wrap, then this colour is called Satin Matte Chrome Red, which I know is a little bit strange. I don't know how you get satin, matte and chrome all in one finish, but that is the name of the colour. This isn't what I was originally going to go with. It's what I really wanted, but I was worried because I know that chromes and funny effects like that on wraps are harder to do than just a standard gloss colour. So I was kind of put off doing it originally, but then I thought, what's the point in going for my second choice of something that I didn't really want that badly, and then changing my mind like in a couple of years or whenever it would be, and then deciding to actually go for this. Like, I was nearly put off by the DIY and it being harder, but you know what? We went for it, and I think we did an awesome job for this. Like, I can't believe how well it came out for a DIY job. Now, I've said a couple of times that I want to do an in-depth video showing you the wrap up close and talk you through all the costs and things involved with doing it, show you all the little tools and all the bits that I needed to actually get it done. It's not just a case of getting the vinyl and laying it on here. There's a lot of other stuff you need as well. So I wanted to do a full breakdown of that and show you some close-ups of some of the bits where maybe it didn't quite go so well, or bits where it's peeled a little bit, or things that we got a little bit wrong, things that we learned, things that we didn't do so well and that we do differently if we did them again, and all sorts of stuff like that. And I will break that down for you in another video, but I can't do it at the moment because it's just too cold. Vinyl doesn't do very well in cold conditions. There was one night when we were wrapping it that the temperature dropped quite considerably as we were working late into the night, and we tried to stretch a piece of vinyl and it just split. and ripped, and it was just ruined. So when the weather's like this and cold, I just can't do that. So that will be something that's coming once the weather starts to get a little bit better. But for this video, we're doing the cost of all the mods on this car. So I'm gonna have to tell you at least how much the vinyl cost. So the vinyl to wrap this whole car came in at £220. Something always goes past when I'm trying to film these videos. It's a nightmare. Now, when I was unveiling the wrap at Ford Fair earlier this year, I picked up a second-hand Miltech catback exhaust system from Karra, who also has a YouTube channel, and I highly suggest you go and check out his channel. He's got a Savage exhaust on the back of his now, which is why I could get this one. So massive thanks to Jason for letting me buy that from him and giving me a great deal on that. That was £80. Now, just quickly, like I said, this is just a catback exhaust system for now, but I will be adding to this exhaust system in the new year. Also, shout out AM plates for this custom ST150 badge. That looks so good. I guess it's not really a mod, but it does look awesome. I think it is one of my favorite things about the back of this car, actually. So you know what? I'm going to include that. That custom badge was £10. AM plates also made me these awesome custom show plates. Now, I'm not going to include the price of these in the total for this video because they're not on the car all the time. But nevertheless, if you wanted to get a set of custom plates from AM plates for yourself, I think these cost me £55, but they're worth every penny. They even put me the little YouTube logo on there, which is awesome. I absolutely love them, and they're going with me to every single show this car goes to next year. So if you're coming along to some shows next year, keep an eye out, see if I post anything on Instagram or a video about whether or not I'm going, and look out for these when you're there and come and see the car. Now, the next mod is the Collins Performance Roll Restrictor or Torque Mount, which replaces the OEM lower gearbox / engine mount. I picked one up brand new from Collins Performance for £75. There was a massive discount on it at the time. I think they're normally well over £100, but I got it for £75, which is awesome. I made a really cool video actually with fitting that and testing it. I mounted a GoPro behind the bumper and actually recorded the movement of the engine before and after fitting that roll restrictor to see how much of a difference it actually made versus the OEM one. And I was quite impressed with the results. Granted, you don't so much feel it in the car, but I cover all that in the video, so definitely go and check that out if you're interested. Next up is this digital clock from UNA Performance. Now, I didn't actually buy this. I got sent this out by UNA Performance to do a little fitting video and a review on, and honestly, that is awesome that someone reached out to me and wanted to work with me on that. So I can't thank UNA Performance enough for that. So if you guys want to pick up one of these for yourself, I believe they cost £18 to buy, but it's not just a digital clock. It's also got some other features in here. It is a temperature sensor. There's actually 2 temperature sensors. I've got one here inside the cabin and one next to my air filter so I can monitor the intake temperature. You can also check your battery voltage and things like that. And I think there's also a feature where it'll cycle through all the different settings. There you go. So that is definitely an awesome bit of kit, and it's really easy to install. It replaces the OEM coin holder, which you just don't need anymore. I think that's well outdated. So definitely go and check out UNA Performance if you want to get one of those. They also sell some other really cool stuff like turbo kits and all sorts of other things. So go and check them out. Now, I really love the temperature feature of that digital clock because I used it to measure the intake temperature going into my air filter after fitting these custom 3D printed intake vents. Now, I got these off someone on Facebook. The guy you need to contact if you want a set is Matt Emmons, but I did a full video on fitting these. I left a link in the description of that video where you can get these for yourself. It's just linked to his Facebook, so if you do want them, you'll have to drop him a message. But yeah, these are custom 3D printed. Matt designed them himself, and they look fantastic. They're so easy to fit. They've got a little collector on the back that you can run some air ducting up to your air filter, your cold air intake system, whatever it is you've got. And they just look really different as well. Like, I've never seen another car with anything like this on. You get like the intake vents in the fog light that just replaces the fog light unit completely, but these are something totally different, and it has that sort of RS kind of look to it as well. And you can customize these any way you want. I wrapped them the same color as the car, but you could just have these the stealth look, go gloss black, or you could do something crazy with them if you really want to. They do come with just a standard 3D printed kind of texture on them, but if you check out my video of fitting these, then you'll see how exactly that you can get a nice smooth finish on these and then paint them or wrap them or whatever you want to do with them. I then did another video on testing the temperature before and after fitting these and that air ducting going into my air filter. So that's another video that it's worth checking out. Oh, and I nearly forgot. These vents worth £40. So that brings us right up to date with all the mods that I've done to this car and what it has cost up to now. Now, when I was totaling everything up, I did get a little bit nervous. I did not want to press that equals button, but then I stopped and thought about it. And you know what? There's just a couple of things that have really bumped the cost up on what I've done to this car. If you think about it, so like a whole splitter kit, you're looking at just under £200 for the whole lot. That mountain short shifter just by itself was £145. The roll restrictor was quite expensive as well, and then obviously the cost of the wrap. So when you consider those few things that cost quite a lot individually, then I guess it kind of makes sense. And another thing is that I've done all of this myself. Obviously, if you're paying for someone else to fit a lot of these things for you, or if you can't get them secondhand for the same price I can, then the cost is going to differ quite a lot. But nevertheless, you can do pretty much most of what I've done for around about the same cost. The only thing you're probably not really going to be able to do, unless you've had experience at it before, or in case you're willing to just send it and have a go, is obviously the wrap. So excluding the wrap, the total for everything I've done to this car comes in at just over £1,043, which I think is pretty damn good considering how much of a difference we've got in how it sits now and how it was when it turned up here. Like, the things we've done for that money, I think, are awesome. Like, people sometimes go out and spend a hell of a lot more money on some of the things that I did really cheap. For example, spraying the grills and plastics gloss black. Like, if people get that done professionally, that could run you so much money. I did it all in for about £20. So that is one place where you can save an awful lot of money. And obviously a full vinyl wrap is going to cost you a lot more than it cost me if you're paying someone else to do it. It's also worth remembering that I've done all these things over the space of just over a year, so it's not like I've spent all that money all in one go either. Yes, it has cost quite a lot of money, but I mean, you can't say it's not money well spent. I mean, look how awesome it's looking with everything we've done so far. That being said, I think I'm pretty much done with how I want this car to look. There are a couple of other things that maybe I'd want to change, or new bits that I'd want it to get, but overall, I think for the outside of this car, I'm pretty much done with how I want it to look. So that brings me on to what's coming in 2022 for my ST150. Now, I've just told you that aesthetically, I'm pretty pleased with how this car's looking. I'm probably not going to make too many changes from here on in. So that means that we can start focusing on some other areas of this car in the new year. There are some little things I'd like to do on the interior and also under the bonnet on this car in 2022, but those things are going to be supplementary to what I've actually got planned for this in the new year, because it is massive what I've got planned for this thing, and I'm really excited to share some of that with you. I'm not going to tell you exactly what is coming, but the main focus in 2022 is going to be the performance of this car. And I don't just mean power-wise, I mean handling, I mean braking, but also we are going to get some more power out of this engine. Now, you might remember in the last video I did on this car, I told you that there was a problem with the engine in that it's burning oil, it's got low compression, and I know that there is a leak from the cylinders down past the piston rings to the crankcase, but I'm going to get that sorted hopefully early on in this year once I've sorted out the engine from my Mark 7 1 litre EcoBoost. Once that is done, we are going to do something similar with this engine and get it performing as it used to, and then we are going to start aiming for bigger numbers. Now, there's a number in particular that everyone aims for with these cars, and we are aiming for that and beyond it if we can. I'm not joking around here, guys. I'm not just telling you what I'd like to do this year if I can afford it. I am telling you what we are doing. I already have most of the parts here already, and if they're not here, they're ordered and they're on their way. We're not going like totally crazy just yet. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. I know there's some other people looking into turbo builds and things like that. Well, we're not doing forced induction or anything like that, but if you know what I'm on about, that is, question gets asked every day on most of the Mark 6 pages. Like, it is crazy how many people ask, and it's the same response every time, but we're going to find out whether or not we can actually do that. Now, if you pay attention to the end screen on this video, then I'll give you a sneak peek of exactly what I've got coming for this car, so keep an eye out for that. But for this video, it is time to end, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you all had an awesome Christmas, and I wish you the very, very best for 2022. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the new year. Also, just quickly, we are so close at this point. I'm filming this video to 2,000 subscribers. At this time last year, I think I'd only just hit 100. So that is an awesome achievement. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do. And once we hit 2,000 subscribers, I'll give you a few more hints as to what exactly we're doing on this car in 2022. See you in the new year.